Hello, everybody, and welcome to Inside the World of Box Lacrosse. I am your host, Trevor Butz. So happy to be joining you for another solo edition of ITWOBL here this week. We got a lot to talk about. 4 games were played in the National Lacrosse League last week. We got a lot coming up for this weekend. It should be another exciting show. I am so happy to be bringing it to all of you fine folks out there. Let's waste no time and get right into things and start first with the San Diego Seals 2-goal victory in the city of brotherly love over the Philadelphia Wings. The Seals took home a 9-7 win, but it was Philly who started the game out really well. Much to my surprise, I thought it would be a tougher game for San Diego. I didn't think it would be a cakewalk by any means, but Philly, took it to them in the first half. We're up 2-0 after the first quarter, 4-1 at the halftime interval, and it looked like, the Wings are going to have a good shot at picking up a win, but not to be, as the Seals roared back in the second half. Philly at one point was up 5-1 in the third quarter and, did end up blowing the lead, outscored 8-3 by San Diego in the second half. And you just can't have that. Ian Rubel's squad just with another lackluster performance here, especially in the second half. This one in front of the home crowd. And it's tough, for Philly. I think they've had a lot to deal with this year. Not set up for a whole lot of success, but you can't be blowing those kind of leads, right? If you're going to be ahead in those games, you got to get it to the finish line, and I think that's something they're going to have to learn. When you look at their performance from that game, Eric Fennell, I thought, had a nice game, a goal and 4 assists. He was playmaking out there, had some good chances. Joe Rezateritz, 2-2, pretty standard for him. Brendan O'Neill, 2 goals and an assist. It feels like for Philly right now, the only shot they have of getting a win is if Brendan O'Neill takes over the game. And that didn't really happen for the Wings here today in that one. Michael Sowers had a nice game, 2-1. Blaze Reardon, he's somebody that's got to do a little more. I'm sorry, Big Blaze, you gotta step up and do a little more. I think it was 3 assists for him in that game. Yeah, 3 assists. But on the season, 3 goals, 9 points in 5 games. I'm sorry, that's just not good enough for somebody who's supposed to be the number 2 lefty on the team and a core piece of this Wings squad. I think you got to look to guys like Reardon right here, who's got to start stepping up. This was a very winnable game for Philly, and they let it go by the wayside. If I was Ian Rubel, Tracy Koloski, everybody in that locker room, I'd be pretty pissed off as a coach. You got to fire up these guys. You got to motivate them. You're facing the same team again coming up. I really think they gotta try and do something a little differently here, because you can't keep blowing those kind of leads. And like I say, it starts on guys like Reardon, meant to be some of the leaders on this team that have to step up. But really defensively for the Wings, it's got to get better. It might help with getting a guy like Scott Dominy back. He had a nice game, an assist, 3 loose balls, but they just can't force any turnovers. Only 3 caused turnovers in the game against San Diego. And just a note, Zach Currier had 4 in that game on his own. So he on his own had more than the entire Wings team in that game. That right there says an awful lot. If Philly could have caused just a few more turnovers, I think there's a good chance they win that game. They've only caused 29 turnovers this season, far and away the lowest number in the league. I know it hurts losing a guy like Mitch DeSnew, but he wasn't going to play for you anyways. You're kind of leaning a lot on guys like Ryan Wagner, Evan Messenger, Chris Corbeil. Now you got Dominy back, so they're a little bit left-sided heavy. Maybe they need to try and add to the right side of their transition D group, but at this point, I don't know if it's really going to happen for the Wings. So, we'll see. They're at the bottom of the standings at 1-5. Might be a team that looks to sell instead of add this year, but Philly just leaving a lot to be desired right now, and they have a chance to make up for it, go out to Pechanga Arena and spoil the party in San Diego, but I think the Seals are probably gonna have some success out there as they typically do at home. For San Diego, though, the story for them in this game, it was the return of the Mac. Ben McIntosh back in a fury. 3 goals, 2 assists for McIntosh. First game since December 14th when he played against Rochester. And it was his first goals of the season. He had been kept quiet in the goal column all year till this point. Only had played 2 games, to be fair. But shows up with a big game here, and the Seals needed it. They needed everything that they got in that game with how poorly they started. They're going to have to start better against Philly in the game coming up this weekend if they want to come away with a win. But really, for me, with the Seals, it was some of their depth, we'll call it. They're still superstar level players, but on this Seals team, we can call them depth guys like Ben McIntosh finally having this big game. Connor Robinson seemingly starting to get acclimated with 2 big goals, picking up an assist. Dylan Watson having a nice game, a goal and 3 assists. Westberg still hasn't quite looked like Westberg like we saw him the last couple years, almost touching 50 goals, but a goal and 3 assists is a solid night. And it very much helps when you can get the performances like you're getting out of Zach Currier. A goal, 2 assists, 11 loose balls, 4 caused turnovers. I know I mentioned it more than Philly had as a whole team. He just changes the game in a number of different ways. Offense, defense, transition, special teams, you name it. He is a game changer everywhere he is on the floor, and he's a big X factor for me for San Diego right now, and a big reason why they've been able to get the wins they have this season. And then another guy who's really paced the Seals team all year has been Trey LeClaire. LeClaire maybe wouldn't have been the guy I would have picked to be like leading the Seals in points at this point in the year. Really at any point in the year, I figured he would have been, more of a second, third scorer, but he has really stepped up in a big way for the Seals this year, and they've needed him too, and they're going to have to continue to rely on the young LeClaire. He did come away with the game-winning goal in that game against Philly, so he's, got that clutch gene as well. Ariglieri, nice night. Much better second half in particular, 41 shots, 34 saves, and they got a chance to sweep Philly in the home and home. I think Philly should be going into that game pretty pissed off, not wanting to have a repeat performance, but I think San Diego has a good shot at coming away with a W there, but we're not gonna confirm anything just yet. The picks are still yet to come. As for our next game, Vancouver, another West Coast team heading out east, took on the Ottawa Black Bears and came away with a 12-8 win. I believe this was the only game I didn't get right this past week in my picks. 3 out of 4, not a bad weekend for myself. We've had a few rough ones the last couple weeks, but getting 3 out of 4, 75%, you know what? C's get degrees. We'll take that all day. Vancouver 12-8 over Ottawa. To me, really, it seemed like the Warriors were just in control from start to finish in that game. And, when you look at the stat sheet, it shows Vancouver up 5-2 at the end of the first. And then look at how they start the second quarter, guys. 1, 2, 3, 4 straight goals to start the second quarter. I mean, starting on a 4-0 run. If you go back to the end of the first quarter, it's a 6-1 run, just in control in all facets of the game. They were up 10-3 at one point in the second quarter. Ottawa did chip away. They ended the second quarter, first half strong, on a 4-1 run, 3 straight goals to end it. But I think Vancouver kind of knew they can put this one in cruise control and just try and glide their way to the finish line. And they were able to do so, and goal fest at the half, 10-6. I mean, that could have been a final in a lot of games, especially this year. 16 first half goals. Yeah, it tightened up a bit in the second, just 4, and it was split evenly. 2 for Vancouver, 2 for Ottawa, and the Warriors end up coming away with the win. This is kind of a dangerous Vancouver team, and it shows in this performance. And we've all known they're dangerous, right? But it shows in this performance because they've had some trouble this year. They've, had some struggles at times. They haven't been perfect yet. They haven't been the juggernaut that we've all, expected them to be, that I know Vegas thought they were going to be. Everybody, by Vegas, I mean the odds makers, thought they were going to be. They gave them some great odds at the Cup this year. But this performance, going on the road against a red-hot Ottawa team, winning by 4 goals, I think says an awful lot. And like I said, it's how you ended that game, only giving up 2 second-half goals, no fourth-quarter goals. And to do that against a team that should be desperate because they're losing in a game, I think says a lot about, how talented that Vancouver team is. And they more than deserved to come away with the W there, and it's a nerve-wracking performance for everybody else watching, because if they get going, man, look out. This team is loaded from top to bottom. We talked about cap space a little bit in the offseason. I know, especially here in Buffalo, we had that talk. I don't know where their cap space is or how they can afford that roster, because my goodness, that is, the West Coast All-Star team that they're building out there. It is something special. To go through some of the numbers, Keegan Ball, a 6-point night. Jesse King with a big night, 2 goals, 3 assists. Curtis Dixon, 2-2. Adam Charlambides as well, 2-2. Shane Simpson, somebody who can really give you some spark in the transition game, 2-2. Matt Beers, shoota, Matt Beers, shooting from beyond half. From way downtown. Can we call that a logo 3 like in basketball? Oh my goodness, Matt Beers, sniper from beyond halfway, able to get one for himself. Not a big goal scorer in his career, the out-and-out defenseman. Just to give you number 31 career goals for Matt Beers, who's been playing since 2010. So no shortage of opportunities for him, but he's, the stout out-and-out defensive defenseman, but, always love to see those guys get rewarded, especially in that way, showing off the skill by hitting that shot with the streak in Higgins, trying to get back into the net. Dan McRae trying something different there. For the Bandit fans out there, they might remember, I believe it was before COVID, when we had JT and Richie Kilgore as our head coaches, the co-head coach tandem. I believe that was when we would try and do that with Vince. We'd sneak him off, try and go 6-on-5 for a few seconds. And I want to say it was against New England. It backfired tremendously, and they went back the other way. Jordan Durston had to track back, get into the net, and play goalie and make a nice arm save on the Black Wolves. I want to say it was against New England in that game. And, I mean, he stoned him cold, got Matty Vince an extra save. I didn't quite work out like that for Ottawa. When they went 6-on-5, they tried to get Higgins back out there. It didn't work. But yeah, it's no real reason to try that. I get McRae, first-year coach, trying to, put his mark on the team, try and do something different. He was a good player. Maybe he's thinking, this is something I would have wanted to do as a player. Let's try it with this team. You see why coaches don't try that kind of stuff, because it can burn you, and when it does, it makes you look bad. So I don't think that'll be something that Ottawa tries again. I know we certainly didn't do that after Jordan Durston's save. He bailed us out big time there, and I know JT and Richie never forgot that. But that place damn near exploded when Jordan made that save. Look that clip up on YouTube if you got some time. It's a good one. On to the Black Bears. Jeff Teat, what do you expect? 6 points out of him. It's damn near impossible to stop him. You just got to hope to contain. Connor Kiernan, good sign, 2-2. Very good game from him. That is, I think, what Ottawa is going to need to see more of. One of his better performances of the year. Typically, if Ottawa can get guys like Kiernan going, Teat's going to go. If you can get a guy like Kiernan, get a guy like Larson Sundown, who had 1-1 in that game going, you're going to be in a good spot to win. But now when Rob Hellier's not on the board, for the first time this season, Rob Hellier was kept without a goal, held to just 4 assists. He has been a key part of this Ottawa team, a big reason why this offense for Ottawa has been so good throughout this season. And Vancouver did a good job keeping him off the scoreboard, and that made a big difference. Riley O'Connor as well held to just 2 assists on 11 shots on goal, so maybe not shooting as efficiently as he could have, O'Connor, in that game, but I think that's big for Vancouver to keep both those guys quiet, who have really done wonders all season for the Black Bears. I think it says a lot about Del Bianco and the defensive group that the Warriors got, but it also shows you why Ottawa lost by 4. Their big guys weren't going, and even though they had some of their depth stepping up like Kiernan and Sundown, it just wasn't enough for them in that game. Stevens, I want to point out as well, Jake Stevens, I thought had a nice game. I want to give him some credit. 3 loose balls, 3 caused turnovers. He has been just an excellent addition, or an excellent piece, I should say, not addition, to this Ottawa team. Really somebody that I think is going to grow into a great player. Yeah, a full season last year, definitely not an addition, but second-year player, a 2023 first-round draft pick. I think he's really going to grow into a nice NLLer and a key contributor for that franchise for as long as they want to keep him, which I imagine is going to be quite some time. A note for Ottawa, my opinion, I think they got to start starting games better. I noticed this when they played Buffalo. I noticed that in this game as well. Not starting games well. Only 15 first-quarter goals this season compared to giving up 22. But on the inverse side of that, they end games tremendously well. 37 fourth-quarter goals compared to just 22 given up. Didn't show up in this game. You can't always rely on the fourth quarter, but it is a good sign that they end games well. If they can just start them better, they're going to be in a spot to win a lot of games this season, I think. Moving on to our next one, Georgia and Toronto. My opinion, the game of the weekend between these two teams. I was absolutely loving taking in all this action. The Swarm able to come away with a victory, 10-9 in overtime. Lyle Thompson is back and better than ever, can we say? I don't know, but he got the game-winning goal. He showed up when it mattered most, and your stars do that. He's a superstar in this league, and guess what? Superstars show up when they are needed most. Lyle Thompson did that. 2 goals and an assist, his total stats for you on the game. Shane Jackson, 2-2. Brian Cole didn't get a goal, but 4 assists, heavily involved in the offense. Hard to score when you're in more of that playmaking role. Only took a shot, 1 shot for Cole, but did a good job moving that ball around. Jacob Hickey with a nice game, 2-1. The rookie and all names team honoree, Keen Moon, 3 assists. He's got to be a regular NLLer with that name. Come on, that is an awesome. I love that. Keen Moon, got to make him a full-time NLLer. Georgia, I think, just might. The way they develop players is top-notch. Ed Como and that entire staff really is second to none. I mean, maybe we could put them up there with Saskatchewan as just some of the best player development in the sport. John Arlotta does an excellent job as an owner down there, and I can see they got Alex Krepinsak, a Swarm great on their coaching staff as well, doing a great job helping out the transition D guys. And, it shows with how well guys like Michael Grace have been playing all year. I know I've been giving him a lot of praise, but Ben Trumbull, somebody else that has really stepped in and contributed in a big way throughout the year with his face-offs and getting on the score sheet, got one in this game. Just something that has continued to impress me with Georgia in this game in particular, but I've seen it at points throughout. 7 different goal scorers for the Swarm in this game. The depth that they have contributing from on a game-to-game basis is incredible. Because you have 2 MVPs on the team in Shane Jackson and Lyle Thompson, 2 superstar level players. Brian Cole's a big time guy. And I thought at the start of the year maybe they're going to struggle, all the youth coming in, but these guys seem to walk right in the door and are ready to go. and I think it, like I said, it speaks to how well that team is run. Um, didn't start the game very good. They were down 4-1 after the first quarter of play, but they responded a bit in the second. We're still down at the half, 6-4, but it was a strong second half. Fourth quarter, Dobson showed up in a big way. Georgia ended the game scoring 5 out of the last 6 goals to take home the victory. Of course, Lyle Thompson with the OT winner. Obviously, we talk about how the depth is showing up for Georgia offensively, as it was very prevalent in this game. But like I said, fourth quarter, Brett Dobson, he is a difference maker. He has been that way all year. It's almost unheard of what he's doing, in between the pipes. In that game, 57 shots, 48 saves. His season stats for you: 689 goals against average. Good God, 86.7 save percentage. I mean, we can start engraving his name into the goalie of the year trophy right now. With how well he has been playing, I think it would take a historic collapse for him to not win it at this point. I think the numbers will come back down to earth a bit. I think they have to. But I think he has just been so dominant and a big reason why Georgia's doing as well as they are. I don't have the number in front of me, but I saw something on the Lax Mag. Check them out on Instagram and check their website out. They do a great job covering the game. But I saw something on their Instagram. It was something like expected saves. And I'm paraphrasing here, but Brett Dobson led the league. It was like 25 saves above expected or something, 25 plus saves a game over what was expected. The next closest person was like 13 or something like that. It was just a ridiculous gap in stats. And Paul Tutka, everybody over at the Lax Mag, they do a great job finding all that stuff, so check them out. But yeah, I thought that was really interesting. Just speaks to how well he is playing, especially compared to the rest of the league as a whole, because there's other goalies that are putting up good performances, but nobody's doing what Brett Dobson's doing right now. As for the Rock, thought it was a good, hard-fought game for Toronto. 1-4 for Challen Rogers, 3-1 for C.J. Kirst, 4-point night for Josh Dowick. One of my new personal favorites, Owen Hiltz, 3 goals for him. As Adam Levy said, the Short Kings. He's making us all happy out there. He's easily becoming one of my favorites. Not only for that, but just love watching him play as a whole. Brad Cree, I thought, had a real nice game for Toronto in a losing effort. I mean, almost always shows up, but not always in this big of a way. 6 loose balls, 3 caused turnovers, had some interceptions out there as well. He had a big game defensively, but really, when you look at the offense once again for Toronto, 6 of their 9 goals concentrated between 2 guys. 3 for Kirst, 3 for Hiltz. Rogers, 5-point night, good night. Want to maybe see one more goal. I'd love to see another one out of Dowick, especially after the season he had last year, which might be, a career year, that one big career year that he has. We'll see. But Mark Matthews is somebody in particular that's got to put a couple more in the back of the net. I know he's more of a playmaker by trade, but he's meant to be the franchise face superstar of this team, the veteran leading the way, and I think he's got to do a little bit more. I mean, only 5 goals on the season, in my opinion, is just not enough. And I know we talk about him as a great playmaker, but this is a guy who's hit 50 goals in this league before. He's hit 40 multiple times. He knows how to put the ball in the back of the net, and I think if they want to get some more wins, he's going to have to. Dan Craig, somebody I think Toronto's going to need to get a little bit more out of. If they don't want to get any more out of him, they can happily send him on down to Buffalo, because I'll take him, because I think Dan Craig would be a great fit with the Bandits. But third hat trick of the season for C.J. Kirst. He's the man for you guys. He looks like it. He looks the part, and he acts like it. But I think you just got to start to get him some of that support. The names, you got great names on the team. It just doesn't seem like they're really stepping up here at the moment. I did love Challen Rogers' lone goal of the game, though, late in the contest, tied it up at 9. Great pick and roll. I thought that was just an excellent piece of offense from him, and enjoyed watching that, but just not enough. And credit as well. I want to make a point here. Credit to Troy Holochuk. Holochuk played a nice game. Not his fault for the loss. Backup goalie often can get a lot of shade for some of these losses. Not at all his fault. I thought he was more than up to the task. 49 shots, 39 saves. Just didn't get enough support, in my opinion, in that game. Final recap from this past weekend. Oshawa and Colorado, the Mammoth, pick up another big win to improve to 5-2. Oshawa falls to 2-6. And we'll start with the losing side of things with the Firewolves. Man, if there's one thing I've learned from watching Oshawa this year in particular, it's that Alex Simmons is the guy. He is him. He is the man for Oshawa. If you had any doubts about who the franchise player is, there is no doubt. You have a duo, I think, in Simmons and Kurtz. I love that tandem. I think they're going to be an excellent tandem for many years to come. It's just finding the support for those guys. Similar to Toronto, you have the young forwards that I think are going to be your superstar franchise faces for the next decade, potentially. How do you help them? And, Simmons and Kurtz each finished with 4 goals apiece. 8 out of their 11 goals concentrated between just 2 guys. Simmons with a 10-point night. Ty Kurtz 4-2. Dyson Williams, good game, 4 assists. Got to start putting a few more in the back of the net, I think. That left side, to me, has left a lot to be the desired for the Firewolves this season. Ethan Walker, I think, is a very talented player. I'm a big fan of watching him play, but I don't know if he's necessarily had the best year that he could have so far to this point. I know they just picked up Feed. It's going to take some time to acclimate him into the offense. Dyson's been a bit of a disappointment. His stats on the year, 22 points in 8 games. For Walker, 26 in 8 games. Neither of them are ever going to do what Simmons is doing, but I'd like to see a little more. I'm getting a little nervous about Dyson as, that number 1 pick. Maybe there was a different decision that could have been made there. At the time, he seemed like, a sure thing, but he's had some struggles this year. Like to see him just finally explode and have one of those big games that, we know he's capable of. The biggest one was against Ottawa, 4 goals and an assist in a losing effort. But over half of the goals he's gotten on the season came in that one game. He scored 7 on the year, 4 in the game against Ottawa. I just think he's got to give you some more. Feed as well. Only a goal for him. Like I said, he's going to take some time. Not getting a lot out of Taggart Clark so far, just 2 assists in that game. 15 points for him on the year. For Oshawa, it's kind of just been a tale of 2 halves of the season so far, I guess we can call it. First part of the season, just no offense to speak of. Defense was good enough, but not going to win when you can't score any goals. Then the last few games, it's been, we'll score a ton of goals, but we're going to play no defense. And, they just have really struggled for any semblance of consistency so far this year. And like I mentioned, you just can't be so overloaded with, almost with over half your goals like that just coming between 2 guys, 8 out of 11. Simmons at one point had 4 out of 8 in that game. They still have a chance to save their season on the road against Vegas, on the road against Toronto, their next 2 games. So, fear not, the season is not over. But I think in these next 2 weeks, you're going to have to really step up and have some big performances on the road if you want to keep your season alive. Right now at 2-6, if you can get to 4-6, you got a fighting chance, in my opinion. If you fall to 2-8, I think you can chalk it up. Moving on to Colorado, man, this Mammoth team is dangerous. They're, in my opinion, just as dangerous as Saskatchewan and Vancouver, some of the other elite teams this year. Uh, their big three is so hard to stop. Andrew Q, one of my favorite non-bandits, 4 goals, 10 points. Jack Hanna, what a friggin' night from Jack Hanna. A goal, 6 assists, to go along with 3 caused turnovers as well. Oh my goodness, like that is just a huge stat that you can have one of your best forwards picking up 3 caused turnovers to lead your team in that game. That is huge to get that kind of a performance out of him. All round kind of player. Will Malcolm 2 and 4. Thomas Vela 4-point night out of him. Braden Saris really starting to round into form, I think. A goal and 3 assists. And how about this game from Timmy Edwards? A goal and 3 assists. Former Bandit who has really found a nice home in Colorado. One of the young players as well. Another young player, Owen Ron, stepping up with a hat trick. 3 goals on 9 shots for Ron. Big game for him as he's able to get the hat trick. Dylan Ward, another goalie who I think has been playing an excellent season so far. 60 shots he faced, 49 saves. He has done everything he can to help out the Mammoth this year. I do want to point out, though, he did make a few mental mistakes late in that game later in that game that I thought could have been costly. First takes the delay of game penalty, which he was complaining about, something earlier, which I understand. But, buddy, the rule is you got to drop the ball right where it is or put it into the corner because I know it went into his crease. You're a veteran of the game. He knew exactly what he was doing there. Just, did his best Lionel Messi impression and booted that thing all the way up the field. Easy. It should be the easiest call of the night for the officials. And then what I didn't like after was the fact he argued about it as much as he did. Because to me, that was a cut and dry penalty. There was no real room for debate. If you're upset about something that happened earlier, he should have gotten that out before he booted the ball up the field. I didn't like that. Got teed up, got another one. And I think he more than deserved it. So just 2 straight mental mistakes from him. And that's where I think he should go in the box like we did with Dobson. NLL's got to approve that. Get the goalies in the box. Let's have some fun. Let's be different. And then what I really didn't like, once Oshawa was on the power play, they were going for a while, passing around, trying to find their looks. They got a shot off. Ward made the save. And then he tried the Hail Mary pass to hit a guy coming off the bench. And it's like, if you're 5-on-5, great. But not 5-on-3. Kill the clock. Kill time. Slow it down. Really didn't like seeing that. And what do you know? Went into the corner. Oshawa got it. Went back up the field. Bing, bang, boom, goal. Now, didn't end up costing him in the long run. But those were just 3 straight mental mistakes from somebody that, is a world champion that is better than that. And that I think just can't be making those mistakes. If they can get that out of his system, I think Colorado has a great shot to put up another banner in Ball Arena. But can't have your best player making mental mistakes like that. Now it is time for the predictions for the games coming up for this weekend. I think it is going to be quite the entertaining slate of lacrosse that we have on deck. Lots of games. By my count, we have 7 games coming up. For whatever reason, just 2 on Friday, and then a whole heck of a lot on Saturday. Would have loved to have seen one of those 7 o'clock games moved to a Friday. I love when we have it nice and staggered like that. Then I can just go from game to game to game and just have lacrosse all night. I mean, what can be better than watching maybe a 6 o'clock NLL game into a nice 8:30, 9 o'clock game, and then capping it off with a 10:30 nightcap? It doesn't get much better than that. Not quite how it worked out this weekend, but still an entertaining slate. Let's get right into it. The 6-1 Saskatchewan Rush are heading on the road to take on the 1-5 Calgary Roughnecks. this should be just a simple cut and dry Saskatchewan's going to win. But when you get into some of these rivalry games, you just never know. Sometimes you got to just throw the records out the window and just see how it all plays out on the floor. To break it down for you, though, Sask, they've won their last 5 games in a row. They've held teams to 10 or under in 4 of their last 5 games, and what do you know? They've won 5 in a row, so that has led to a lot of success. They've also won their last 3 games by 4 goals or more, so they're not winning just these close call, a bounce or two could change the game kind of games. They're winning decisively. I think if you're getting to 4 or more, that's when you start to get into decisive win territory, and they have been winning decisively. And like I've said all year long, they are the true definition of a team. I think they have looked the best so far this year. I'm going to pick Saskatchewan, and part of that is because of some of these things with Calgary. They've been held to just 10 or less in 4 of the last 5 games, and my big question right now is just where is the offense coming from? Cook is a real good player. Tyler Pace, we all know how good of a playmaker he is, but is Maye, Dixon, Manning, are these kind of guys good enough to really step up and carry you in some of these games when you need them, especially if you don't get the production out of a Cook or a Pace? And I just think there's too many question marks with the Roughnecks right now. Going to go with Sask all the way on that one. Just want to make a note, though, for Calgary, Cam McLeod was let go. I believe it was last week they made that decision, fully gone, cut, and they brought up Colby Bowman to the backup spot, signed Tommy Wood to the practice squad, and Bowman, a guy who I think has a lot of potential. Got to see him in his field lacrosse days back when he's playing collegiate ball for the Walsh Cavaliers down in D2. A good attackman, real freaking good attackman. Guy had a crazy shot. I think he put up 7 or 8 goals in the game. He was phenomenal, but it seems to be an even better goalie. He's somebody that I know Josh Sanderson, Troy Cordingley thinks very highly of, because you don't cut a guy like Cam McLeod if you don't think very highly of his replacement. So important to note that as well. Bowman, the new backup for Calgary, and McLeod, a free agent. I think some team's going to get a gem if they pick him up. We'll see who, but for right now, Saskatchewan's going to win this game. Next one, San Diego and Philly, the 3-3 Seals taking on the 1-5 Philadelphia Wings. The Wings, obviously, we know they've had some struggles this year. They've just played some bad second halves. Feel like they're kind of competitive in some of the first half games. Second halves, just not at all. They've been outscored 42-28 in second halves this year, and they've been held to just 7 goals in each of the last 2 games. They are on the struggle bus right now, and I don't know if it's going to really get any better. They've done a good job keeping opponents to 10 or less. They've kept opponents to 10 or less each of the last 2 games, but you gotta score some yourself, and I just don't know if Philly right now has the horses to do it. They've had some trouble really in general when playing the Seals. Only 1 win ever against San Diego. That came back on April the 8th in 2022. It was a 13-12 win over the Seals in that matchup. 2 teams that have maybe linked up more than people might realize, as they actually do have a playoff meeting under their belt. That was something I had kind of forgotten about the year when Philly snuck into the playoffs as that wild card team, but the Seals have been great against them in their history. 6 games played, including that postseason matchup. San Diego has won 5 of them. However, they've had some trouble with their offense too. They've been held to just 11 goals or less in their last 5 games. They need to just develop that consistent offense really this season. That's kind of where they've had some trouble consistently. 12 to me seems to be the number you want to get to, at least these days. I feel like they're going to have to get to that a bit more going forward if they want to win more games. Maybe they don't have to in this one. but ultimately gotta find that consistency. If you can get some more performances like you got last game out of Ben McIntosh, Connor Robinson, you're going to have a chance to win a whole heck of a lot of games. Give me the Seals in this one. For our Saturday slate of games, kicking things off, the 4-3 Georgia Swarm will head up to the Maritimes to take on the 3-4 Halifax Thunderbirds. This is, going to be an interesting one, I think. Georgia was a bit inconsistent before the last couple weeks, as they hadn't won 2 consecutive games all season till last week when they were able to get their victory with that 10-9 OT win over Toronto. They've only given up 10 or more goals once, just one time this whole season. And it came all the way back at the start of the season in game number 1, where they lost 15-11 against the world champion Buffalo Bandits. Since then, it has been spectacular for the Swarm. Obviously, we have sung the praises of Brett Dobson on this show. Myself and Greg, we have both been loving what we've seen out of him. How can you not, right, with how good he has been playing? But their defense as a whole has been excellent. Because it takes a true team effort to keep teams under 10 like that consistently. They're they're a team that's played a balanced. They've had that balanced offense. We mentioned the 7 different goal scorers in the game against Toronto. That's been a theme all year, and they've been playing just overall balanced games. Like, they're not more loaded in one quarter than the other. What I mean by that is they outscore opponents in every quarter this season, whereas we talked about Ottawa struggling in the first, but you're dominant in the fourth. Georgia, they are just consistent, steady all the way through, and I think that is really going to help them down the stretch and potentially into the playoffs. I think they'll be there. So I really am liking the Swarm in this one. To go over some things on Halifax, though, they do have a home field advantage. I imagine the Nest will be jam-packed like it always is, but the Thunderbirds have really had a lot of trouble lately. Lost 4 out of their last 5 after starting the season, as good as you could have asked for. Start 2-0, only give up 2 goals in your first game. You beat the world champs on the road. I mean, they were riding high, but since that win against Buffalo, it has just been a rough sledding for the T-Birds. Been held to 9 goals or less in 5 out of their last 6 games. They did get a win against Buffalo with just 9, but so difficult to do that consistently. And the overall sample size shows, as like I said, lost 4 out of the last 5 or 4 out of 6 if you throw that Buffalo game in there. And that shows. You got rid of Dawson Theed, so the offense is going to have to get better without a guy who, I thought was a big contributor. Theed left Halifax with 11 goals, 10 assists, 21 points in 7 games. 3rd leading scorer on the team. It's a tough guy to take out of the offense and expect things to get better. But you got 2 50-point guys on the left side that got to step up now. There's no real option to not for Mike Robinson and Jason Knox. Both of them guys are going to have to step up and play a bit better than they have to this point. And I think the T-Birds are also going to be leaning a bit on Will McLeod. The rookie had a big 4-goal, 2-assist first game of his career. Has been pretty quiet since. But if they can get McLeod going, somebody's just got to emerge on that left side. That's my question right now for Halifax. Who's going to emerge as that guy on the left side? Because you got Jammer, but Jammer's not what he used to be. He's, getting older. You need somebody else that can help him out. Getting rid of Theed makes that a little more difficult, but maybe, Micah Kersey, Scott Campbell, Kurt Steyer's, all of them guys are thinking that when you get rid of, the big guy like Theed, that can help to open up, time and opportunities for Robinson, Knox, McLeod, whoever. So I think that's got to be what they're thinking there. Unless they're hoping that Stephen Keogh's going to make a difference from the right side, just picked up onto the practice squad. I don't know if that's going to be the case. I want to say Stephen Keogh's, getting close to the 40 number. So I don't know how much of a difference he's going to be able to make anymore, but we'll see. Yeah, confirming that 38 years old, and he will be 39 in February. So I don't know if you're going to rely on an almost 39-year-old Stephen Keogh to be the guy to help spur on your offense. So I'm gonna have to go with the young and flying swarm here in this game. Next up, a battle of 4-2 teams in what should be. I'm going to call this one the game of the week for this week. That's my prediction. Rochester and Vancouver. The Warriors head up to the Blue Cross Arena to take on the Nighthawks. Vancouver has had the historical success versus Roch, 3-1 all time. They've been getting great games all season long from Keegan Ball, Del Bianco, Bauer, and Grant, you name it. They have superstars galore. Shane Simpson, we've talked about that. It's just, can you get it again? You're going to need another big game from a guy like Jesse King. He's only had 2 multi-goal games this season. If he can step up and give you a big game, I think Vancouver is going to be in a great spot. But I really think Rochester is just such a tough place to play. There's always one game every week that I'm wishy-washy on, and I don't know really up until the last minute who I want to pick. That's this game for me this week. I am stuck in the middle a bit on this one. Vancouver has been perfect on the road this year, 3-0 on the road. Rochester, coming off their bye week, lost their home game against Toronto. They're going to be, pretty pissed off, pretty angry, especially with, some of the calls in that game not going their way. I think Roch is really going to try and come out and play a big game. We're gonna go with Rochester in this one. It's very tough to decide for me. Rochester, really before that game against Toronto, they had been firing on all cylinders offensively, at 12 or more in every game up until that one. If they can do that well again, I think there's a chance for them to have a lot of success. Our next game will feature the Battle of Ontario, as 2 teams looking to get over 500 will meet up. The 4-4 Ottawa Black Bears taking on the 3-3 Toronto Rock. That game will be in Hamilton. Ottawa goes on the road. They've had some success in the Battle of Ontario so far. Only 2 prior meetings, but the Black Bears won both. And I know in hockey, the Battle of Ontario in hockey, they have had the short end of the stick in that rivalry, but they've been getting the better end of it here so far in lacrosse in the NLL. We'll see if that holds up once again. For Ottawa, it's been two different sides of the floor, right? A tale of 2 different sides of the floor. Your offense is amazing. Your defense has been struggling. You have some pieces on the defense that you really like. Guys like Callum Jones, Reed Kurtz, Jake Stevens, just to name a few. But as a unit with Higgins, they have had some difficulties this year, have scored 94 goals, given up 94 as well. It's just, can they contain that young Toronto offense that hasn't been, superb in their own right, but if guys like Kirst, Hiltz, Rogers get going, they can be a tough group to stop. Especially for an Ottawa team that's given up 12 or more in 4 out of the last 5 games. Do have 3 wins out of that, which is impressive. But as for Toronto, they've only scored 12 or more goals once this year. So Ottawa's given up 12 or more a lot. Toronto's not getting to that number very often. Let's see what's going to give here in this game. That's really the question for me. Will that Toronto offense get going, or will that Ottawa defense step up and keep Toronto, to 12 or less like they've been stuck at for virtually all this season? Toronto has been playing a lot of close games. I would expect this one to be much of the same. A Battle of Ontario, once again, kind of like we're talking about Saskatchewan, Calgary earlier, some of these rivalry games. You really can just throw the records out the window sometimes. Toronto, 4 out of their 6 this year have all been decided by 1 goal. I think this one will be a 1-goal game as well. If they can get a win here, that's going to be huge. The loss against Georgia really hurts, but every win that Toronto can get without Nick Rose playing is going to go a long way in keeping them in the playoff hunt. When looking at their upcoming schedule, Ottawa this weekend, Oshawa at home, and then Colorado on the road, then Colorado at home before the world champs come to town. So I think when you look at the next two very winnable games against Ottawa, Oshawa, and a chance to put themselves in a good position for when Rose gets back. Obviously, we don't know when that'll be, but Toronto hoping that it'll be before season's end. And if it is, I think they can have a good shot to sneak into the playoffs if you can get wins in these games. I don't think they will. I'm going to go Ottawa over Toronto. The world champion Buffalo Bandits, the back-to-back-to-back world champions, the greatest dynasty in league history, will head up to Colorado to renew the rivalry with the Mammoth. And Buffalo at 3-3, Colorado 5-2 this year. Bandits, in some kind of unfamiliar territory. They've lost their last 2 straight games, and in their losses this season, they've been held to just 8, 9, and 9 goals, respectively, in each game. However, when they've won, they have scored 15, 13, and 15, respectively, in each game. So, once again, just what team are you going to get? Which Bandits team is going to show up in that game? Lately, it's been the team that hasn't been able to score a lot of goals. Some changes were made. Mike Triolo was released, as well as Ron John for Buffalo. Decisions that were hard to make. Firstly, with Triolo, I think Nielsen's just so much younger, and we have more righties and lefties. Triolo, to me, is just big and clunky. Doesn't do a whole lot for you. See ya, bye. And Ron John, a lot of people were upset, and I love Ron John. I think he's great at the Can-Am level, but, man, his 1v1 defense leaves a lot to be desired at the NLL level. He has had some struggles defending. I like what he can give you in transition, but in my opinion, we're not using him that way, so that's kind of our fault. But we're not using him that way. He's not really a big enough guy to get in clog lanes, block a lot of shots. I was fine with letting him go. In my opinion, I saw more out of Mike McCannell in the one game than I've seen out of Ron John. I thought he was a good piece for our team to help us win the championship last year and was needed, and I'm forever grateful for him helping us bring home the three-peat, but I'd rather give Mike McCannell a look, so I'm fine with those transactions. I think it'll help. Offense has got to be better for Buffalo, plain and simple. Got to be better to keep up with Colorado's big three. If they all show up, Colorado's going to win. It's as simple as that. Not only would they beat Buffalo, they're going to beat many other teams. They've won 4 in a row. They gave up less than 9 goals a game on the season. They've held teams to some absurd numbers this year. They've kept the Swarm to 7-5, kept Halifax to 6. I think they might have the Defensive Player of the Year this year in Robert Hope. If Colorado was playing anybody but Buffalo, and I wasn't biased, I'd pick Colorado, but I'm a homer. Everybody knows that, so we're going with the Bandits. But don't be surprised one bit if Colorado comes away with a W. They're an excellent team, and I said earlier this year that I'm surprised they're doing as well as they have with everything they've had to deal with, because losing Ryan Lee for the season. Eli McLaughlin's on the holdout list, trying to incorporate Jameson Bucktooth and Braden Saris into the offense. Dealing with all that has just been an awful lot. Q has had some injuries this year, and they have just handled it like true pros, and they're showing their class there, really. And I think Colorado has, like I said, I think there's a great shot that a third banner goes up in Ball Arena by year's end. I know there's some guys in orange and black that are going to be trying to prevent that, of course, and guys in all colors really across the league trying to prevent it. trying to bring it home for themselves. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. Mammoth, I like what I've been seeing, but we're gonna go Buffalo. Final game of the weekend, jam-packed weekend. The 2-6 Oshawa Firewolves head out west to take on the 3-3 Las Vegas Desert Dogs, as the Firewolves gonna head up to Henderson, Nevada, and do battle with the Desert Dogs. That should be an interesting game. Oshawa's going to have to bring it, plain and simple. Firewolves are going to have to bring it. Something that I want to see out of Oshawa this season that I feel like I haven't seen much of is a Doug Jamieson takeover game. Haven't feel like I've seen much of that this year. We all know the caliber of goaltender Dougie is. But only one 40-plus save game this whole year. Just one. It's hard to believe out of a guy as good as Doug Jamieson that he's only had one 40-plus save game. And that came all the way back on November 28th in the Firewolves' 8-7 win over Toronto. He did record 47 saves in that game. So you got to go back to win number 1 of the season to have define Dougie's only 40-plus save performance. I think if Oshawa wants to get the win, they're going to need Dougie to step up in a big way and help shut down the potent Desert Dogs offense. Because we've been talking about that all year, how great that offensive unit is for Las Vegas. Dougie really going to have to step up. And the defensive unit as a whole for Oshawa going to have to step up. They just made a change, firing assistant coach who helped a lot with the defense, Daryl Gibson. He just got the boot not too long ago, and I don't know if it'll change much, but maybe it could motivate the players a little bit, motivate that locker room, and let them know, hey, guy, like this guy just lost his job because of us, because of how badly we're playing, because of how poorly our defense has been. If he's the defensive coach, he lost his job because of us. And I think it starts with not only a guy like Doug Jamieson, but one of, the all-time greats and a veteran of this league, Kyle Rubish, leading the way in the locker room, saying something along those lines. Guys, we gotta be better here. We have to perform better. Like I said, this guy lost his job because we're not performing well enough. I think that should hit home for a lot of people in that locker room. I would not be surprised to see Oshawa fired up in that game. However, I'm not so sure I think they're going to win. They've had some trouble against Vegas in their history, just 1-3 all-time against Las Vegas. And, if you watched Vegas the last 3 years, they have not had a lot of wins. So the fact they got 3 against the Firewolves franchise as a whole, dating back to their time in Albany, says a lot about how the Firewolves typically play against them. So this will, of course, be a Tucker game as well. Just thinking about that, so that there will be a lot of emotions in that building. Both teams are going to be very fired up to play, but I'm going to have to give the edge to Las Vegas here. Really, and especially, too, with Oshawa, they're outscoring opponents 41-35 in the first half. Great. Getting outscored 55-31 in second halves. I like the Las Vegas offense, averaging over 12 goals per game. If they can play some sort of defense, I think Las Vegas, will have a very good chance to win. They're giving up about 13 goals a game, or exactly 13 goals a game, so it's not a great number, but when we've looked at the Oshawa offense, what have we said? Simmons and Kurtz. That's kind of been it. If you can just keep it at those two, you're gonna be in a position for success. So I think a lot of that does fall on the Vegas D. They have been scoring a lot, 10+ in the last 5 games. If you can get the strong defense, you'll get a good win. Just looking at some of their interesting notes for Vegas, 3 games this year allowing 15 or more goals. That's not a good number at all. Only one defenseman on the team with 30-plus Lucies at the moment, John LaFontaine with 36. And some of their other defensive metrics, only 36 caused turnovers as a team, 3rd worst, 408 loose balls, 4th worst, 30 blocks, also the fourth worst. So the Vegas defense has not been good, but like we've said, they got the firepower, they got the horses up top. Fourth, most goals this season, and they're behind a few teams that have played, a couple more games. So scoring a lot of goals. Fourth as well in total points. Up there in a number of different categories as well. Second in the league in shot percentage by a few tenths, so getting efficient shots as well. I'm going to have to go with Las Vegas in this one. Well, that will do it for this week's edition of Inside the World of Box Lacrosse. It was a jam-packed weekend last week, even more jam-packed this weekend. I've been going for quite a while, so I'm going to wrap things up. Firstly, though, if there is anything that you want to hear me discuss or Greg and I discuss when we have him on, just let us know. Drop a comment. Put it on the social medias as well. TButts82 on Twitter and Instagram. Check me out there. Like I said, anything you want to hear us talk about. If there's anything I missed, just let us know. Like I said, drop the comment, add the social medias. We'll see them, and we'll try and get that in here as best we can. We would like to thank you guys so very much for watching. I have been Trevor Butz saying thank you and so long.